today. Now we're in the warning phase, and this means that it's happening. If you have the warning for your area, you have to seek shelter. The weather is moving in. Brian?
All right, Kevin, I've noticed here as we look at the SkyTrak camera, that's going to be the middle image there just below me. That's the area we're watching for the broad rotation. Now, when we look at the actual radar, and one thing that's interesting too, by the way, is looking at the camera. Let me pan back over. Notice the flags are blowing to the left. That tells me that there is a strong northeast wind right now into downtown New Albany. Now, look at the radar. Let me show you what that would mean. If you got a strong northeast wind showing up across Floyd County, that tells me you've got a general broad, at least broad right now, circulation that is right over the southwest corner there of Floyd County heading in. Now, again, I don't see anything right now that screams that this is a tornado. It does tell me, though, this is a very much a what we call a mature cyclone, where it's got the strong rotation field that is broad. We don't want this to tighten up more than what is showing. That's going to be the key signal, if anything, can develop as far as the funnel cloud. But at the moment, this is the spot to watch. Don't see it, but those clouds or the flags themselves are certainly blowing faster and faster as that stronger northeast flow kicks in. Can we show the velocity wind there on the radar? Let me show you that, where you can see that visually, what we're looking at. And again, it's right there over New Albany that we're talking about, with that stronger flow coming in from northeast, wrapping around. We'll see how that plays out over the next few moments, but it's that spot here on graphics too, if we can show that. You can see what that rotation is over Floyd County heading in, right over the Georgetown area. And again, this is the spot just west of New Albany. We'll see how that plays out. But this whole thing is rotating. That's the reason really for the tornado warning, is you got to take precautions to set up, because it doesn't take much to get a funnel cloud to be produced out of that. And as I mentioned before, these kind of incidents happen really, really fast. And that's the reason why you got to stay ahead of the game the best you can. And that's why they have a tornado warning. When a wind field gets established like that into Floyd County and kind of cross right in from Harrison and Floyd right into the central portion there of Jefferson County, it was a wide open area. That wind field is going to slam, certainly when it comes to the wind speed getting up there over 75 miles per hour, and got up to that 78, actually 78.3 for being technical. Remember, March 3rd, 79 miles per hour, and that was just a little over a month ago, Kevin.
All right, Brian, we're getting information coming in out of Owensboro. We're receiving 66 mile per hour that we've known. Ours happens to be one of the strongest wind gusts we've seen today. The National Weather Service is going to go with a small tornado warning for circulation in eastern Jefferson County. So we'll prepare for that warning now by looking. We also have Justin Hilliard, who is an intern here. He is a meteorologist. He's out chasing. This is one of the cameras that we have availability of, and he is out chasing this storm as well. I'll point out, the new tornado warning includes eastern Jefferson County, and we're not alone on this warning. It's going to stretch across parts of several counties, including we go back to that source. Let's bring it full so I can see it.
It's right over the malls, actually.
Yes, so this takes it from, yes, indeed. That would be the Linden area where we see the greatest circulation on that. And we'll go back to the velocity, because that helps us so much. And that's where we see that rotation. So right over, as Brian pointed out, the malls, whether that's the Oxmoor, the Mall St. Matthews, right in that general vicinity, pushing through Middletown, going to take it across southern parts of Oldham County, extreme northern parts of Shelby County. This is north of Shelbyville. This is north of Simpsonville, a narrow area and corridor where we see some rotation showing up on the radar. Once again, what we're looking at on this with the warning happens to be the tornado warning that has just been issued for Jefferson County, and that includes eastern Jefferson County. And that will continue to push off to the east. That storm likewise moving off to the east at 55 miles per hour. Mentioning the chase vehicles that we have on this storm, we have seen nothing actually touch down at this point, but we continue to watch the feeds coming in from our storm chasers, including our own storm tracker, and Justin, who is out chasing, and we continue to watch those pushing off to the north and east. This is a blast of strong winds, the same one that put 78 mile per hour winds at the airport, and it continues to move with some rotation. All radar indicated from St. Matthews, the Linden area, now pushing toward Middletown. Let's go hyper-local and take a look at some of the towns and streets. Brian, I know you're already doing that, so we'll just toss it over to you.
Yeah, I'm trying to get an alert out locally. So hold on one second.
Okay, well, while you do that, because
yeah.
we're
Sorry, the screen's blocked on me here. But,
that's all right. The way this is working is obviously it's not just the television audience we're working with. We've got about 20 radio stations that we provide weather for. We're sending out information on our app for people that are just watching that, saying, hey, you've got to be prepared. So let me do that. I can do it from the key, and we're just going to zoom in to this general area. And I'm going to zoom in super tight, and we're going to talk about some of the roads that are impacted by this. If you're in Barrytown, O'Bannon, working your way just south of 71, pushing toward the Crestwood area, say 362 if you're familiar with that, and 146, working through Pee Wee Valley. This is the zone of concern with some of the strongest rotation and wind. That takes it through Worthington Hills. Places of note might be Chamberlain Lane, Willow Forest Drive, pushing over across the county line from Orchard Grass Hills down toward Floydsburg. This means as you push even farther to the east, that would take it past Crestwood, Floydsburg, eventually pushing along Old Floydsburg Road, Chapel Drive, West Mount Zion Road. Those are just a few places, as we've mentioned, that could be in the path of this storm. Lots of lightning with these storms as well. We pointed that out. The most concern is the wind. We've already had 79 or 78 mile per hour winds reported in the city with this. Again, we keep taking power hits here at the station, an indication that the wind is still strong across much of the area. And that's going to be the case along this entire Boeing segment that we have pushing through. Back to the velocity, because really it tells the story. It's the sort of odd colors that we look for within that. Let me go back, because you'll notice in some areas we just have the pockets of strong wind. Fern Creek would be one area, strong wind. While we have some strong wind in Fern Creek, it may not be rotating like it is, so consequently you may not have a tornado warning, but the wind could be even stronger for you than it is in the tornado warning. That's why today is another one of those days where it really doesn't matter what type of warning you're under. You have to pay attention to it because of the strong wind fields we've had. We've said for weeks now, this will go down as being the year of the wind, where we've had so much wind energy in our atmosphere that now we're pulling it down to the ground, and we see these pockets of wind. Fern Creek, you need to be on standby. I'm going to zoom around, sort of pan around, and the tornado warning continues. It's not a tight rotation, but there is some rotation there, now pushing just north of Middletown. This would take it across the Lake Forest area, and as it moves into far western parts of Shelby County, similar to where we saw some of the damage and the tornado touchdown. And we're talking about Polo Fields, we're talking about Aiken Road, we're talking about all those areas that saw some damage from Friday night, Saturday morning storm. You're seeing some of the strongest winds now. That will continue to move very much near the border of Jefferson, Oldham, and Shelby. Strong winds also pushing to the south, and we see the warning sort of getting redrawn for northern Spencer and almost all of Shelby County, including eastern Jefferson County. That's a severe thunderstorm warning that will continue until 5:45. That's because, again, the pocket of heavy wind having the potential to produce those 80-mile-per-hour winds as this moves off to the east, roughly at about 55 to 60 miles an hour. Brian?
All right. In fact, I'm keeping an eye on our camera there. It's in Simpsonville. That's going to be on the northern fringe of where that is trying to bowl out there. You see it tracking right over the Fisherville area, that pocket of wind. This is a strong circulation. You got to look at it in a much more broader scope there as it moves into eastern areas of Jefferson County. You can see it pushing in northeast wind. Moving across Oldham County, and then a very strong push right there into eastern Jefferson, now crossing into the Shelby County area as well. But it's right in the middle of that, over Eastwood, heading right into the triple point, actually about the same spot where the EF1 was confirmed just a couple of days ago, Kevin. That's about the general spot we're looking at. But that's just still a relatively broad rotation that we are talking about. The SkyTrack camera, let me see if we can show that. That is actually at the outlets in Simpsonville. I've got it aimed right now to the south, it is going to get difficult to see much of anything out of this image at all because it is going to be raining so hard. But I will keep it on. If we look at that real quick there on the SkyTrack camera, you'll be able to see the approach there of the actual rain band and the strong wind fields. This is probably going to be an image that's going to change really fast here in the next few moments because it's literally about, I would say, less than a quarter of a mile down the road right now from that spot on 64.
All right, getting reports of Jefferson County just south of the Waterson. This is going to be very close to the Newburgh area where we have trees down, pieces of roofs that have been blown off. So that's coming in from parts of Jefferson County as well. So again, those winds, same pocket. I mean, it's really along that entire line. But this, I hate to always just focus on the tornado warning because while that is certainly important and impressive and deserves being talked about, so does everything else going on. Sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes the warning for a severe thunderstorm may be out, but it's obvious that the tornado warning takes precedence. Today, it's one of those days where, okay, we have minor rotation with this, could be a tornado, but holy moly, we know we have strong winds here, and that's pushing through now southeast Jefferson County into southwest parts of Shelby County and northern parts of Spencer County. Strong wind. You're looking at the outlet shops of the Bluegrass off to my side. This is a live camera that we have, one of our many SkyTrack cameras that we've been showing you throughout the day. We saw the storm coming into Corydon. We tracked it into New Albany, across Jefferson County, and now we're looking at Simpsonville in far western parts of Shelby County. So we've got you covered on not only seeing it on radar, but actually seeing it visually as the storm moves through. We have had reports of damage in a number of places already. Back to the radar view we go, and you'll notice that as the tornado warning continues, so does the severe thunderstorm warning until 5:45. Looking as this moves to the east, it's moving fast. I mean, we're talking 50 to 60 miles per hour as this storm makes its move out of Jefferson County. We're not out of the woods just yet, but we're getting close, and that means we transition over into parts of Spencer, Shelby, southern parts of Oldham counties for the strongest winds on this. I'm going to go back to the home view just quickly so we can make sure that folks to our south know we're watching them. To our north, you're just seeing rain at this point. No problems right now, southern Indiana. No problems across, if you're west of I-65. It's areas to the south that would be east of I-65. Notice they just trimmed that warning up. That would be most at risk of seeing some of the strongest winds. Let me zoom into all of the areas being impacted right now. We'll start by looking at the new warning that's coming out. This is a severe thunderstorm warning that stretches all the way up into parts of Trimble County and includes all of Oldham County. You can see the outline. That's a severe thunderstorm warning that we have had. And then in the middle of that is where we had some of that rotation. Back to our velocity, and you'll see we still have the rotation. The couplet is very clear. The new warning is being trimmed up. It doesn't go past the old one. They're trimming off the back side of it, but you can see the new polygon for the tornado warning. That would be right across southern parts of Oldham County as we speak. That's where we have the greatest potential for some of that rotation. Let me zoom into that just to give you a few locations so that the storm tracker is on the road. We appreciate the help of meteorologist Justin Hilliard today, also showing us what's happening in terms of what's it looks like across the metro. And that's important because obviously our bulk of our population is here. We just experienced 78-mile-an-hour winds blasting through. We have a number of areas with power outages. We we still do. Let me go back to our velocity. We're starting to see more and more power outages show up as expected. Brian, why don't we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, well, actually, John Bull was just showing me a message was sent out. It was a part Fort Knox, right? It was without significant power outage there at the installation there at Fort Knox because of the strong wind field that passed right over the radar beam. It was going to be very difficult to even see that because it was right on top of the radar itself. We were getting all reports of damage that's been happening around Okolona near the airport, especially around Fern Valley and Preston. We are checking that out. We have been getting your calls. We appreciate that. We want you guys to be safe. Got a feeling we're going to be hearing more about what has happened around Okolona, Highview area, all the way in through about St. Matthews and Hurstbourne Parkway. The outage numbers are going to be delayed, but they're starting to go up. Jefferson County is kicking back in once again with some of those higher numbers, something we just don't want to hear about, but that's what a 78-mile-per-hour wind will indeed do passing through. The latest warnings are out. Kevin talked about the tornado warning. Not seeing that circulation nearly as strong. Now it's really just that southern flank there that is moving right across Shelby County. But again, if you were to draw this in much more broader scope, and it's relatively broad now. So if this continues, this will be a good thing. Hopefully they can let the tornado warning go. If future scans confirm this, but still, it's a very strong wind field. When you look at this, by the way, this is angling such at a sharp northeast push. I mean, it's racing right into Henry County, right into Owen County, Kentucky, Carroll County. There's no doubt this is a wind field. Once it gets established like this, it just does not.
Like what you'd see if you wound up experiencing those 70 to 80 mile per hour winds, like some folks could be across parts of Henry County into Shelby County. That's what we're looking at in terms of the velocity. When we look at the radar itself, you're going to see, as far as any flooding concerns, we do have heavy rain falling with these storms, along with that lightning, but it's moving at a pretty good clip. So while we have rain falling behind it, flooding, it's not a zero issue, but the main issue is wind. Secondary would be the rotation and the tornadoes. We just haven't had many hail reports out of this today. I know that it's spring break season and a lot of kids may be out of school, but we still have some traffic, and these storms are causing some problems with that. Brian, you got an eye on the traffic.
Yeah, one thing that can usually stand out too when you look at some of these traffic maps is you can get an idea if there's any problems developing. Obviously, it's 5:36 in the afternoon, so hard to tell yet what some of this is rush hour or not. But giving the idea there is certainly lighter traffic right now due to spring break. That's certainly worth watching. When you look at the map itself, let me show you the actual traffic map here on Max 2. And we look at, especially around the Okolona area, Fern Valley Road, as you head near GE, Newburgh, all the way near the Waterston Expressway. Certainly, there's increased traffic in the area. Now, we don't know the exact cause of this, but it does stand out as some of the worst of the traffic we have in the metro right now when it comes to that. And you notice the crashes, too, that where the heavier rain was on 65 and along near the Sherman-Minton Bridge. But we'll be watching some of those camera feeds and the traffic sensors, too, to give us an idea if there's any traffic lights out, which I got a feeling there likely are, just because of what has happened there with the line of storms that came through the area. I know, Kevin, we've got several different cameras we're watching right now in the feeds in the area. The warning keeps getting extended. That's not going to be a surprise. It's going to keep going, as we mentioned earlier, well south of Cincinnati. It's going to keep going.
Yeah, the latest still includes our viewing area. This is for Henry, Oldham, Shelby, Spencer. That warning goes again until 5:45. Just downstream from that, now including Franklin County in that. So Frankfort would be in on that warning. That warning will continue as well as it pushes through until 6 o'clock. So as this storm moves through, you'll notice we've gone from destructive to considerable on the damage, still with the tornado possible tag, down from 80 to 70 mile per hour wind potential on that. So again, that's the severe thunderstorm warning that we're watching moving across our eastern counties. Into our southern counties, that warning not quite as robust in terms of wind speed. Nonetheless, it will still impact counties like Nelson, eventually into Washington, Marion, Taylor, Greene, and Adair. So we're not finished tracking these storms through our viewing area. They're past Louisville, the threat of severe weather ending for us, the threat of severe weather ending for southern Indiana, and areas west of I-65. So if you're in those zones, you don't have to worry about wind anymore. At least the strongest of the wind. We're still going to have some wind gusts. As you can see in Louisville, we're still gusting to 44. Our winds are west at 24. We've had and measured winds that exceeded 78 miles an hour here in Louisville within the last half hour to 45 minutes. We have had some damage and power outages continue. We have a number of crews that have been out as well. They are getting in place to find that damage and sort of report on what has happened across the area. You can see we're filling in those counties I just mentioned with the severe thunderstorm warning. We'll go to that and show you that this will now include parts of Washington, Marion, Greene, Taylor, and Adair, all seeing some of those thunderstorm warnings off to our south. That is where we have the latest warning coming out. That one also in place until 6 o'clock tonight, as that, or until, let me see here. That one will go until 6:15 tonight. So this is the latest. Let's take a look from some of our reports that have been out. This is a tree that has been blown down, and again, this is blocking some traffic. You can see the yellow line. This is Preston and Durrett Lane.
It's not far from Mail High School area.
Close to Mail High School. So again, that's one tree that's been down. I'm sure there are many more. Power outages continue to climb across the area because of the high wind that we had. 78, 79-mile-an-hour winds. We saw that back on March 3rd. They can do some incredible damage, especially with the trees. And now with even more trees leafing out, the wind canopy is a little larger. That means we have more aerial coverage to blow those trees over. I have a feeling we're going to see some problems come out of this. The thing is, it was pretty specific. It wasn't over a very large area like it was back then, but it was a small area. And if it was in that area that you live in, you've likely experienced some damage. We'll continue to see that lightning show up from our radar view. When we look at what's happening just past Louisville, off to the south, just get your bearings. Munfordville, Hart County. There's Greene, Washington, or Greene, Taylor, Marion, Washington, Nelson County, seeing the heaviest of the rain push through, strongest of the winds on that leading edge. Brian?
Yeah, we've got a report here. We got it confirmed, actually. There's, don't know the structure here, but apparently there's been a building collapse that is just west of Iroquois Park. This is going to be in the St. Andrews area, not too far away from Brooklawn Drive. We do have a crew that's on the way, and again, I'm trying to get more details on this. We're now getting some pictures coming in from you guys of some damage not far from the Derby City Gaming area on Poplar Level Road. So that's where the core of the wind really showed up, was around Iroquois Park, and then tracked right over the airport. And the northern side really of Okolona, GE, Buchel, and then headed into the southern portion there of St. Matthews. Again, we're trying to get more details on this. We got crews kind of going all over the place here, Kevin. But we do know at least we got that confirmed on a building collapse there on Brookline Drive, which is again St. Andrews area. But don't know the structure of it. Don't know if anyone's hurt. Obviously, those are questions we're trying to also get answered. But we got a crew there.
Yeah, and I tell you, that's going to be the thing. It always is in severe weather as we walk you through what's happening now, and the winds are easing a little bit, but we still have severe winds across the area. Now we're starting to get those damage reports in, whether that's the building collapse, whether that's parts of buildings that have been strewn about. Remember, we were talking about Newburgh, just south of the Watersons, seeing some damage there. We've seen images coming in from you from Burst, and I'll ask the folks in the control room to let me know when we can show some of those. But we appreciate everybody pitching in. On days like today, it's all hands on deck, and that means we need you too. And when you are able to take the Wave Weather app and sort of stay safe from the storm, that's the first thing.